Good evening. This is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channel as I continue on my part series, The Week That Was College Football History Review, the 1984 college football season. Gonna get into it, man. This is the 1984 college football season. Got the year of Flutie's heroic Hail Mary, television frenzy fed, and a suitcase full of money. This is what it's all about. The overview of the 1984 season. Then we'll get into like some milestones, get into coaching changes that was made, Winning Streaks preseason poll, as well as the week that was, the games that were played on September 1st, 1984. And the game that was played on Monday between Miami and Auburn. This game was played on September, maybe in August, possibly. But either way, I'm going to get into it anyway. It was a game that was played on Monday. Now let's get into it. It was a rough year for college football, where they were off-field bickering, lawsuits, showed the damage that greed over television money could do to a supposedly amateur sport. Many major college programs seemed to be either on probation, getting off probation, or under investigation. The game needed star power after having lost a host of top players to the pro ranks and a number of marquee names and Heisman hopefuls being injured and lost for most or all of the season. Another upstart team won the national championship, which ordinarily would have been good news, except that even the most dedicated fan of football outside the state of Utah failed to get terribly excited about the championship earned by Brigham Young. This was due in part to the Cougars wrapping up the title on December 21st, long before the normally crucial New Year's Day bowl games could unfold. Probably unspoken religious prejudice against the Mormon church didn't make BYU warm and fuzzy either. What the season needed was a hero like the old cartoon musical refrain, Mighty Mouse to save the day. Fortunately, there was a thrilling quarterback in Boston College Doug Flutie who stepped into the role of pint-sized hero, a real Mighty Mouse, if you will. Flutie became both the first quarterback to pass for more than 10,000 yards in a career, an inspiration to vertically challenged sports fans everywhere. With the size of players getting larger all the time, the nation was enamored with Flutie for not only his lack of height, but his ability to dominate bigger players with talent, intelligence, and guts. But not even Flutie could help a sport that seemed intent on shooting itself in the foot at every opportunity. The off-season started oddly when head coach Howard Schnellenberger, the defending national champion Miami Hurricanes, found coaching in the United States Football League for 5 years and $3 million, preferable to returning to Coral Gables. The situation became absurd as the Washington Federals, his new team, dissolved a few weeks after he signed. He resurfaced as an ESPN commentator, seen in the running for the head job at Florida that never came open, applied for a Notre Dame job that was not yet available, and settled for trying to rebuild the Louisville program. Miami turned to Oklahoma State coach Jimmy Johnson from 1984 and painfully lost 5 games against a much more difficult schedule than the one faced by Schnellenberger's title team in 1983. Most incredible were 2 straight losses suffered by the Hurricanes at the end of the regular season. Miami followed up the amazing loss to Maryland, in which they squandered a 31-point lead, a record at the time, with a 47-45 to Boston College that featured Flutie's storybook last-second game-winning Hail Mary pass to wide receiver Gerald Phelan. Those back-to-back performances lived on in a 39-37 Fiesta Bowl loss to UCLA that stamped Johnson's first team with question marks and cost the job defensive coordinator Bill Trout. Johnson crafted a quick recovery from Miami's poor conclusion in 1984 by launching the foremost program of the next 10 years when it racked up a very impressive 107-13 record. Not so easily repaired was the damage that was done to NCAA football by the legal squabbles over television rights. NCAA had regulated a TV package with networks for 33 years, but in negotiating fees and presenting a schedule to the viewing public. Now, after the NCAA was declared in violation of antitrust laws in 1982, Georgia and Oklahoma led a group of colleges that sued to allow individual schools more power in determining televised football. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled on June 27 that the NCAA could no longer control TV rights, with existing contracts with ABC and CBS now canceled each homestanding team had the right to negotiate its own deal as long as the visiting team approved. Out the power of the NCAA monopoly, the schools circled into two syndicates, but found the network money tight. The Big Ten Pacific 10 syndicate signed on with CBS, while the 63-member College Football Association worked out a deal with ABC and ESPN. These deals were for rigidly defined 3.5-hour periods each Saturday, with the remaining time open for the individual 83 schools to sell their own rights. The results was that schools received less than half or per team money for each televised game than they would have earned under the voided $263 million agreement between NCAA and the networks. The immediate result was college football on TV roughly from noon to midnight on a host of networks, both national and local. What began as a blessing for the fanatic turned a bit sour as only the most rabid fan could brave what turned out to be a glut of games, and even public broadcasting airing a week of weekly Ivy League contests. Wall-to-wall football on TV would take some getting used to. The result was a cheapened product with slumping ratings that was a detriment to all. The biggest lunacy in the TV frenzy was that some attractive contest that pitted a CFA schools against a team from the Big Ten, Pac-10 axes, like the attractive Michigan-Miami matchup, were not aired anywhere. UCLA and USC had to sue to overturn a provision in the ABC contract with the CFA so that their big games against CFA members Nebraska and Notre Dame, respectively, could be shown on CBS. Schools lost money and some TV syndicators went bankrupt. Ordinarily, a new national champion for a fifth straight year would have been exciting, but a lot of fans moaned about Brigham Young playing a weak schedule and clinching his national title in the Holiday Bowl by a mere touchdown margin over the Michigan team, with easily the worst rushing record would have in 21 seasons. The Cougars' margin of victory in the closing AP poll was minuscule, 20 points in its closest AP poll ever. It surpassed the 28-point difference in 1978 between number 1 Alabama and Southern South California. It was the third time in 4 years that an unranked team in the preseason poll won this championship. But this time, the Cougars sported the 96th most difficult schedule of 98 Division 1A schools. The trackers point out that although BYU beat everyone on their schedule, it did not beat any team that ended up in the top 20. Lack of conviction, BYU as true champion might have served as a long-awaited spark to ignite interest in the playoff system. Despite support from coaches like Joe Paterno and Barry Switzer, the playoff idea remained doomed. A strong vote of Division I schools in June had gone overwhelmingly against any change to the existing bowl format. Oklahoma coach Barry Switzer was especially derogatory about BYU's worthiness, despite the Sooners facing a weak slate themselves. Oklahoma lost the Orange Bowl game to Washington, partly because Sooner cheerleaders drew a poorly timed penalty for bringing the Sooner souvenir wagon onto the field when they thought the clock would stop after a successful field goal. The Huskies had failed to win the Pac-10. Their New Year's win was somewhat irrelevant in terms of determining a champion. Washington finished second, even though it beat no top 20 finalists either. Huskies coach Don James put an angry twist on the voting by ripping the 6 riders who voted bowl ineligible Florida as their number 1 choice since the Bigators had been charged with 107 NCAA infractions in September. I don't think it's fair to vote for teams that have gotten to where they are in absolute violation of the structure of rules we're supposed to live with. Give me a suitcase full of money, he continued, I can go out and develop a pretty good football team. Florida actually won the New York Times computer poll and an unofficial post-season poll by the Sporting News. The charges against Florida, 59 of them stuck. The NCAA gave the Gators probation for 3 years for abuses such as legal recruiting, cash payments, phony jobs for players, even spying on opponents' practices. Former graduate assistant Mike Brown confessed to the last charge, which prompted school president Marshall M. Chrysler to offer to forfeit 5 1980 victories as well as a 1981 win over Florida State. He was ignored. As coach Charlie Pell's empire crumbled, he announced he would leave at year's end, but was forced out on September 16th. The infractions brought into light the role of irresponsible school boosters. The situation in Gainesville might have fizzled quietly, but for the incredible job turned in by interim coach Galen Hall has inspired Team the Gators reeled off 8 straight wins to take their first league crown in 52 seasons in the SEC. Of course, the title was stripped in late season. The appeals and officially taken away in May 1985. Hall, an 18-year assistant at Oklahoma, was given the Florida head coaching job to resume long-term on November 17th. With Florida out of consideration for the Sugar Bowl, he was in the state in the first year under Bill Arnsparger, took the New Orleans stage instead of front-running Auburn, which fell all the way to the Liberty Bowl after losing its final game to Alabama by 2 points. Injuries also dampened spirits of the faithful as Heisman candidates Bo Jackson of Auburn and Napoleon McCallum of Navy, the 2 leading returning rushers from 1983, missed most of the year with injuries. Under the heels of the departure to the professional ranks of a host of talented players over the first 4 years of the decade, the sport was lacking stars, at least west of Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Milestones that took place, you had Freedom Bowl in Anaheim, California, Cherry Bowl in Pontiac, Michigan made its debut. NCAA rules changes included moving kickoffs, but that traveled beyond end zone to 30-yard line rather than standout touchback spot or 20-yard line. Longest win streaks entering the season of 1984, Brigham Young, Miami had an 11-game winning streak. Auburn had a 10-game winning streak. The coaching changes that took place: Air Force, Bishop DeBerry, Ken Hatfield, Arkansas, Galen Hall, Florida, Indiana, Bill Mallory, LSU, Bill Arnsparger, Memphis State, Ray Dempsey, Jimmy Johnson, Miami, Lou Holtz, Minnesota, Northern Illinois, Lee Corso, Pat Jones, Oklahoma State, Rice, Watson, Brown, Dick Anderson, Rutgers, Jock Elway, Stanford. The preseason poll for 1984, preseason AP poll, Florida State was 20, 19 Boston College, 18 Washington, 17 Florida, 16 Oklahoma, 15 Southern Methodist, 14 Michigan, 13 Arizona State, 12 Iowa, 11 Penn State. Miami 10, Alabama 9, 8 Notre Dame, 7 Ohio State, 6 Texas, 5 UCLA, 4 Clemson, 3 Pittsburgh, 2 Nebraska, and number 1 was Auburn. So let's get it started, man. The first week of 1984, it started with a game on Monday night between Miami and Auburn. It was about 2 top 10 teams. Both teams had long winning streaks. Auburn had a 10-game winning streak, and Miami had an 11-game winning streak. This was number 10 versus number 1. Auburn was number 1, Miami was number 10. Where Miami beat number 1 20-18 East Rutherford, New Jersey at the second kickoff classic. The Hurricanes beat the nation's top team that was ranked for the second straight game 8 months apart, extending its winning streak to 12, ending Auburn's string at 10. Fourth quarter turned into field goal contest, won by Miami freshman kicker Greg Cox 2-1, the second from 25 yards counting as a game winner with 6:08 left. Gaines quarterback Bernie Kosar threw 2 touchdowns to wide receiver Stanley Shakespeare. Wide receiver Eddie Brown made 8 receptions for 157 yards. Meanwhile, fullback Alonzo Highsmith ran for 146 yards to outdistance Auburn star halfback Bo Jackson, who had 96 yards on 20 carries. Jackson's fourth quarter fumble after hit by Miami linebacker Bruce Philman had 15 tackles led to Cox's first field goal of fourth quarter from 45 yards. Tigers had last chance and on poor pitch out by quarterback Pat Washington that was bobbled by halfback Brent Fullwood and recovered by defensive end Julio Cortez. Miami squandered big opening act. They outgained Tigers 190 yards to 38 yards to in the first quarter with interception and fell fourth down try within Auburn 15-yard line and found themselves down 15-14 early in the third quarter. Auburn freshman kicker Robert McGinty kicked 3 field goals but never got last chance for the win. Meanwhile, Brigham Young beat Pittsburgh, the number 3 team in the country, 20-14. Cougars known considered too weak to tangle with big boys shot number 3 Pittsburgh, which would turn out to be a pivotal road victory in Brigham Young's search for the first national championship. BYU quarterback Robbie Bosco completed a 25 out of 43 for 325 yards, winning 50-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Adam Hasbro. With 137 left, Bosco has suffered a shaky start. He made only one of his first 8 passes, and through 23rd quarter interceptions that led to both Panthers touchdowns. One coming on 78-yard interception return by safety Bill Callahan. Pittsburgh final drive led by backup quarterback John Cummings after quarterback John Kajimi left game with bruised thigh and it downs at Cougars 29-yard line. Miami beat Florida 32-20 in Tampa, scoring 2 touchdowns in the final 7 seconds. Miami escaped second straight with ranked team within the week, avenging sole loss of 1983. Hurricanes scored winning touchdown 12-yard pass by quarterback Bernie Kosar to double cover wide receiver Eddie Brown that capped a brilliant drive. Kosar took offense 72 yards in 29 seconds with 36 yards coming on past the tight end Willie Smith with 152 yards receiving on 11 catches, but scored 26-20. The Gators had a remote chance died on interception by Miami freshman cornerback Tolbert Bain, returning 59 yards for the final touchdown. Moments earlier, quarterback Cohen Bell hit Frankie Neal, wide receiver, with a 5-yard touchdown. One play after converting 4th and 5 with 7-yard run, and that put Gators up 20-19, 41 seconds left. Florida had a big play touchdown earlier in the game when tailback Lorenzo Hampton, following big block by guard Jeff Zimmerman, raced 64 yards. Hurricanes kicker Greg Cox kicked 4 field goals to tie a school record. Kosar also tied Miami for the completion record with 25 completions, while Smith set mark with 11 catches. While Miami played second tough game in 6 days, Florida had to overcome frenzy regarding Coach Charlie Pell's possible resignation. Tennessee beat Washington State 34-27. Tailback Johnny Jones would not be denied as a 203 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, led Volunteers to the first opening win since 1979. Cougars built 16-14 halftime lead on 3 field goals by kicker John Trout, a 12-yard touchdown pass by quarterback Mark Rippon to wide receiver Michael James. Tennessee took lead for good. 5:15 into the third quarter, a 1-yard run by quarterback Tony Robinson to cap 80-yard drive for whipping 10 more points in the third quarter. Volunteers eventually built lead to 34-16 before Washington State rallied for game's final 11 points. Wazoo's Trout booted 4 field goals with 3 as chip shots after the offense bogged down in Tennessee red zone. Fresno State beat Arizona 27-22. Upset featured amazing finish as Fresno State quarterback Kevin Sweeney, after being flushed out of pocket, hit wide receiver Vince Wesson for 80-yard scoring pass play with 35 seconds left. Sweeney had scored a 9-yard run at 4:50 to put Fresno up 21-16. Quarterback Alfred Jenkins soon threw a 28-yard touchdown to wide receiver John Horton, 4th down to give Wildcats lead with 51 seconds left. The Bulldogs gained only 211 yards to Arizona's 338 yards, but converted 2 fumbles inside 20-yard line to score touchdowns and tally another 52-yard interception return by Rourke Kelly, the defensive back. And finally, Air Force beat San Diego State 34-16 as Coach Christian Berry's Air Force debut was successful as quarterback. Brian Noor tossed 2 touchdown passes, and fullback Pat Evans rushed for 121 yards. Falcons clinched 9th straight game early, converting 2 fumble kickoffs by San Diego State. He turns into touchdowns within 51 seconds of first quarter for 17-0 lead. Now able to tee off freshman quarterback Todd Santos, Falcons built lead to 31-3 before halftime as defense forced 5 turnovers. Air Force 1 yards battle, 485 yards to 216 yards. Santos threw for 154 yards and 47 yards, scoring past the wide receiver Vince Warren in his debut. So that includes a look at the first week of the college football season. The games that played on September 1st, 1984. Including the game that was played on a Monday between Miami and Auburn. This is the overview of the college football season for 1984. Went over the milestones, the coaching change, the preseason poll, and an overview of the 1984 season. So look at the AP polls on September 3rd. Florida State was 20, 19 Washington, 18 Boston College, 17 Pittsburgh, 16 Oklahoma, 15 Southern Methodist, 14 Michigan, 13 Brigham Young, 12 Arizona State, 11 Penn State. The top 10 had number 10 Iowa, number 9 Alabama, number 8 Auburn, number 7 Notre Dame, number 6 Ohio State, number 5 Texas, UCLA, number 4 3 Clemson, number 2 Nebraska, and number 1 was Miami. So that concludes a look at college football season review, the 1984 college football season overview, including the games that were played on September 1st, 1984, the game that was played on Monday between Miami and Auburn. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the channel. Do reveal this magnitude Thursday evening. Until then, talk to you soon.